Hey there, listeners. This is Diane for Obscure Media, and I'm coming to you from somewhere in the Great White North. And the topic of this discussion, as it were, is that of what I'm going to call message board fascists, and what those are the various message form or message board forums that are around the internet regarding whatever topic you have, in the PC way in which these boards are being run. I just recently had an issue with something that has been happening on the soap opera Days of Our Lives, and it concerns whether or not the male character of Steve Johnson was raped by the female character of Ava Vitale. And it seems to me that IQ, as Ripley would say in Aliens, IQs have just dropped sharply. And what do I mean by that? It has to do with the fact that, according to the from what was shown in the scene, it was more rough sex or hate sex. However, people can't delineate between the two, and they also feel that Steve didn't have any option because Ava was coercing him, using his fiancée, Kayla, against him to get him to do whatever Ava wanted. Now, the discussion has never been whether or not male rape is either a myth or if it is a reality. It is. However, there are certain criterion that needs to be present in order for it to be classed as male rape in the legal sense of it. However, when you do go to have the legitimate discussion about this kind of an issue, the message board people, and I'm talking like the moderators of the boards, who I'm going to class as little Hitlers, and also the various posters, suddenly get this collective, I guess you could call it, ridiculousness, because they want it their way. They're not willing to discuss it normally. They're not willing to discuss it in terms of intellectually. They just want it their way. And if they don't get it their way, what do? They complain and they have you banned. And that's what happened to me on the soap opera board, Soap Central. And the reason why I'm making an issue out of this is because I think the fact that you cannot discuss something either intelligently nor with facts to back up what you're saying has become too much of an issue these days with regards to legitimate discussion about any issue. There is this tendency to look at what you're saying and dismiss it outright, because basically, as far as you are concerned, or one is concerned, you're looking at it more as more impassioned, when I feel that you should be looking at something dispassionately. And when it comes to topics like rape, I feel to a certain degree as a victim, or shall I say a rape survivor, I feel that word is being bandied about in a way that it shouldn't be. And what I mean by that is the fact that with all of the ridiculousness over Bill Cosby, over here in Canada we've had Jan Gomeshi, and in down in the States, the issue over the whole Roman Polanski issue, which actually is a non-issue, there's this tendency to just want to use that word rape, and it's, how shall I say, it's co-defendant, or it's cohort in crime, and that is pedophile. And it's ridiculous how these people can use these words interchangeably, sometimes together, because as far as they are concerned, as I said, they want to be able to dictate the whole discussion, because as far as they are concerned, they are right. They are steadfast in their belief that the way in which they're discussing it is correct. Now, I have to say this: in this case, the ones who are pounding that home are the quote-unquote legion of Steve and Kayla fans who want to look at this and see that this family was brutalized somehow by this character of Ava Vitale, even though Ava has done really nominally nothing to them. Now, there was a scene in one show where she took a candlestick and knocked Kayla over the head with it, and then supposedly took her someplace to use as leverage against Steve to request sex from him. And there we have the issue with regards to whether or not it was rape or hate sex or something else. Now, I cited the fact that Steve had other options than to do this, and in the scene, Steve was clearly the aggressor, but when you try to point that out in terms of his behavior with Ava, which has bordered on, I'd have to say, abusive, in the way that he began to choke Ava out. He has taken her and shaken her around, and yet that's not the discussion. The discussion isn't the fact that here's a man who's clearly violent toward a woman. That's not the discussion. The discussion is this woman supposedly committing rape on this guy who basically was in control. He was in control of the situation. But as I said, if you say anything about that, if you're not a favorite on the board, which means if you're not a moderator's favorite, or if you're not a most favored poster, and you're not willing to quote-unquote kiss ass, as some are, suddenly you're deemed as this I am going to use the Scientology term of a suppressive person, and they can quote-unquote excommunicate you from the board. Now, with Soap Central, I am banned from posting until May 8th. And if you can believe this, they have an infraction system that you get a certain amount of points for what you've done. And apparently, I've had other infractions for saying things that, according to them, was mean or something like that, even though it was in the spirit of the discussion. But again, for the fact that these message board owners want to be able to schmooze with the industry, they are shutting you down. And I'd like to know where the spirit of freedom of speech came from in terms of being able to speak your mind that way. Now, I believe that if you are not being disrespectful, which means if you're not being disruptive, and you're not going around calling everybody stupid, dumb, whatever it is. I feel that whatever you say, you should be allowed to say it. However, they, according to their terms of service, they do reserve the right to boot you and or delete your comments. Now, I don't see how that serves the greater good in terms of again, putting forward this I'm going to say this antiquated notion of freedom of speech and being able to further the discussion by using facts as a backup or using your own personal experience with regards to that. Now, with regards to this particular topic, I made no bones about the fact that I am a rape survivor, and I was saying the fact that I was appalled and disgusted with the fact of how that word is being bandied about, clearly pertaining to something that it has no bearing on. But again, I was shut down, and apparently there are a few people on Twitter who have blocked me from quote unquote reading their posts, and it's ridiculous. It is. The fact that we have to censor ourselves in that regard, that if we don't buy into that party line, we are somehow considered bad and therefore banned on that fact that you're actually discussing things with people. I joined another board, another soap board, to talk about this issue, and once again the issue came up, and I stated what I did on Soap Central, and I have received my first strike because, again, I'm daring. I don't know whether it's I'm stirring the status quo or what I'm doing, or if I'm egads waking up the mass whammy being placed on us by the media, who suddenly has Cosby'd us into believing that rape is rape, and it doesn't matter in whatever form that comes in. If they say it's rape, whoever that power that be may be, if they say it's rape, then gosh, by golly gee, it is rape. And if you dare to call it anything else but, you are somehow or another a lesser person. As I said, despite the fact that you can, that if you use facts, if you use your own personal history to illustrate your point, it's not allowed. And it's a little alarming that it has come to this, that we are somehow supposed to start self-censoring ourselves, even though whatever the discussion that we're having needs that personal experience and that ability to be able to discuss whatever the topic is openly and freely without censoring. And I think that that's the greater issue there, is shutting down that freedom of speech and banning it and putting an infraction system on it. So that's saying that, well, like in Edward Snowden, a Julian Assange, or someone else Bradley Manning, that if you're bringing something to light, in whatever capacity that is, somehow or another, you are not allowed to, because it is somehow wrong. And I think that I just wanted to say something on that issue, and to get your feelings on it. do you question of the night or the day whenever you're listening to this is, what do you feel about that? The notion of these message boards censoring what you have to say, decrying you for using actual facts and good sense in your argument, and also too, what are your feelings on the fact that they are allowed to ban you for whatever stupid reason it is? Have you ever been a part of a community like that, and suddenly had your words censored or your voice in effect silenced? If you have, go ahead and put your comments in the comment section, and let's discuss. Let's open this up and see what you have to say. So, this is Diane for Obscure Media, and I hope to hear from you, and have a great evening, have a good morning, have a good afternoon. Take care.